We would now like to welcome our panelists and our moderators for our third session here. And the theme or the topic is Growing Hospitality Industry in Nepal, Leaders' Perspective. Now this session will bring forth the leaders' perspective when it comes to the hospitality sector here in Nepal. We have a fantastic panelist of leaders who have been involved in the hospitality sector and will be sharing their experiences and their learnings. And I'd like to now invite on stage a very apt moderator for this session, Mr. Upal Majumdar, Head of Practice Tourism at Dolma Consulting. He has an extensive consulting and work experience with South Asian teams in sectors like aviation, financial services, IT, hospitality, healthcare, retail, tourism. And besides working with the private sector, Mr. Upal is also closely aligned with the Nepal Tourism Board and is currently the advisor for the Tourism and Civil Aviation Committee of the Federation of Nepalese Chambers of Commerce and Industry, which is the largest trade body of Nepal. Very glad to have Mr. Majumdar as the moderator of this session. Ladies and gentlemen, can we please put our hands together for our moderator? I would now like to invite our first panelist on stage, Mr. Akshay Golyan, Managing Director at Golyan Group, which is a conglomerate headquartered in Nepal with business interests in agriculture, banking, construction, real estate, renewable energy, manufacturing. He continues to spearhead the Golyan Group's growth and was the key force in the completion and opening of Hyatt Place Kathmandu, a 153-key 5-star hotel. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Akshay Golyan as a panelist of the session. May I please invite on stage Mr. Arun Chaudhary, Chairman and Managing Director at CG Holdings, a member of Chaudhary Group, which is also the largest business conglomerate in Nepal. The group, of course, has a humble beginning, which started around 80 years ago with a family-owned textile business and has now, today, become a household name in Nepal and around the world as well. Very glad to have Mr. Arun Chaudhary with us as well. May I please invite our third panelist on stage, Mr. Dorji Lama, Managing Director at Dusit Princess Kathmandu. Mr. Lama ventured into his family business of hand-knotted carpet manufacturing and hospitality industry at an early age of 23. He strengthened his hold in the hospitality sector in Nepal by tying up with Dusit International to open a Dusit Princess branded hotel at Kathmandu. Very glad to have Mr. Dorji Lama with us as well. Ladies and gentlemen, one more time, a big round of applause for Mr. Lama. Next, I'd like to invite on stage Mr. Pushpendra Bansal, COO at Lord's Hotels and Resorts, to join us as a panelist in this session. He is a civil engineer by profession who expanded his family business in construction at an early age of 20 after completing his education. He is an accomplished hotelier operating 42 hotels in 3 countries and 15 more in the pipeline in various stages of completion. Very, very glad to have you with us as well, sir. Next, I'd like to invite Mr. Sahil Agrawal, Managing Director at Shankar Group. Shankar Group of Companies is also one of the leading business groups in Nepal. Mr. Sahil Agrawal has grown the family business into one of the largest steel companies in Nepal, employing more than 10,000 people. He's also an active member of a number of associations, and we're very glad to have Mr. Sahil Agrawal as well in this panel. And with this, ladies and gentlemen, we complete this fabulous panel, and we're really, really excited to hear what each and everyone has to bring forth to the table, to this discussion. And please have a seat, gentlemen. Thank you very much. And without any further delay, I'd like to request Mr. Upal Majumdar to kindly carry forward what seems to be a very insightful session.
Thank you, Sadiksha. A warm welcome to my esteemed panel. So ladies and gentlemen, these are all the hospitality leaders for you together on the stage. So in the morning we had some excellent sessions, spoke a lot about how hotels are going ahead, how it's changing, and whether you should go for a brand or not, and how does one invest in this sector. And there were so many questions on, that the architect wants to do something, the interior designer agrees, the brand gives the diktat, and the owner has an aspiration, and maybe they're not in line. So we're going to all hear about all these from the horse's mouth. These are, all of them are very successful businessmen, so welcome to the panel. And so what we'll go through this pretty quickly, because I believe we do have a time constraint. and you like to hear them more than me. So here goes. So it'll be very interesting since I hear even though Mr. Bansal himself, runs a very large hospitality chain, but he started off as an engineer, not as a hotelier. So I think my first question to the panel is going to be, all of you are very successful businessmen. So what made you get into hotels and come up with hotels? So should we start with you, Bansalji?
Namaste, Nepal. Hajur Kasto Huno Huncha. How are you all after the lunch?
So the answer to that is Ramro Huncha, right?
I am Pushpendra Bansal, as my great friend Uppal told about me. And I am an incidental hotelier. I am not a hotelier actually by profession, but one of my friend borrowed a money and he returned me a hotel. He couldn't pay me back, so I had to buy the shares, and now I am 97% in my group owner of that hotel. He's still there, so I didn't want it. So I'm an incidental hotelier. After coming in hotel industry, I realized that this is a good profession where I was a civil engineer and I was a contractor, basically doing construction for all the government organization. So I was very rough, and now I saw that I can be polished, and I was in Surat, so I thought maybe I'm a diamond, and polishing has been done in Surat. So that's my story.
Super. Doji, you want to go next?
Thanks, Paul. Good afternoon, everybody. I would like to thank AiM for hosting this event in Nepal. So, my story of how we came into the hospitality business was about 38 years ago. We had a small trekking shop in the heart of Tamil, selling trekking gears. During that time, a lot of tourists, foreigners used to come to the shop and ask, where can we get a good accommodation, like good hot running water, nice mattress, and a very clean and hygienic place. So that's when my father realized like there was a gap. And since he was in the hospitality business, since he was in the real estate business, we had a nice plot in Lazimpat. And that's how our journey began 28 years ago with the first establishment of Hotel Tibet. 15 years later, we made another hotel called Hotel Tibet International. And right now, we are constructing the Dusat Princess. And hopefully, in the next 3 to 4 months, we should be opening. Yeah.
So, Arunji, you like to?
Good afternoon, everyone. Like my friend mentioned, that he is an incidental hotelier. I'm an accidental hotelier. No, I'll tell you how. Because once I was traveling and I was staying, that was quite a long travel, which was including urban stay, including little outskirt, and also it had some kind of a small city, so I had to stay in a business hotel, and also then we had a plan of going to a safari. So during that time, what I realized that only brand in isolation, only an architect in isolation, only interior designer or services in isolation can't make a good hotel. You know, though my family has been in business, they have a pretty big portfolio of hotels. This was about 7-8 years ago. I decided that no. And by choice, you know, I'm a person who like to create things. I'm also into real estate, so I sometimes call myself a curator. I like to create. I like to put anything that I create, I would want to have my touch in it. So I engage though it's architect, though it's interior, anybody. So then I resolve myself saying that, no, let me try and open up a few hotels in Kathmandu. So we are in the process of opening up a Crown Plaza, a business hotel with lemon tree. We have a jungle resort and a place not very far away, 1.5 hour drive from here called Nagarkot. We are opening a resort there and a wellness retreat. So why accidental? Because I never thought of being in a hospitality. But now why hospitality? Because of my passion of creating. So what I'm trying to do right now is trying to put everybody together. I was there in a session where we were talking about owner's aspiration versus a design. I think that's a very, very pertinent subject where one has to dwell upon, because for me, hotel is not only a hotel or a business. For me, a hotel is my passion, where when I walk through that hotel, there has to be a story to tell. So I call myself, I call myself accidental hotelier.
Wow, you seem like a very prodigy hotelier. Akshay, you like to take that next.
Good afternoon, everyone. So how my family got into the hotel was pretty simple, actually. We are traditionally, industrial-based organization. We got into industry back in the 1950s, 60s. Then we diversified into real estate development. And while doing real estate, we saw an opportunity back in the late 2000s, early 2010s, that there is a dearth of quality hotels in Kathmandu and Nepal as a whole. And that's how we started our first venture, which is the Hyatt Place. And I think hospitality is a great sector to be in, a lot of wonderful people. And we are looking forward to grow in this sector. Thank you.
Excellent. Sahil, you'd like to share with us your journey?
Thank you, Pulji. Good afternoon, everyone. So, when I started my career, I saw that, two industries that I never wanted to get into. One was hospitality. The other one was airline. Because, these were two very attractive industries, but at the same time, I saw a lot of people failing in it. And I had decided that, no, we will not get into this. But somehow, accidental and incidental, we had this piece of land that we had bought in Naxal, where we're building the Hilton Kathmandu. And, when we bought this land, it was basically for a corporate office. But then, we got it quite cheap at that time. And later we realized that this is a very prime land. And, why don't we use it for something else? We can build our office somewhere else. And that's how, we started this discussion of, building a hotel. And I thought it was too small of a land to build a hotel. But then we designed something using a local architect. And it seemed like a 100-room hotel can easily fit there. We had a lot of discussion within the family. I was against it. My father and brother wanted to do it. And finally, we decided to go ahead with it. Even though we increased the size of the land, increased the size of the hotel, increased our budgets. But then, we are into it, and let's see how it goes. We are also building one more small resort in Pokhara. So now we are into it, and let's see, how this journey takes us away from our core business. Thank you.
Excellent. So you heard everyone, and it's very important for brands, architects, designers to really understand that at the end of the day, there is an owner and he's very passionate about this project of his. So all of them are very, very successful in the industries and are leading names here in Nepal. So my question really is that you had a choice. Why did you go in for an international brand? So let me start with Dorje. I mean, you've been in the hospitality business for a certain period of time. You run two very successful hotels. You told us the story. So going now in 2023, you're going to be opening a branded, international branded property. So what made you, as a very successful hotelier, if I may say so, go in for an international branded hotel?
As you know, Paul, we have already two hotels. And our third hotel, which we are actually planning to family-run hotel, which we're planning to run ourselves, it was halfway through, and then I get a call. I would like to share a story. My friend from Bhutan calls me up and says, Dorje, you got to come to Bhutan. I'm opening a hotel. So at first I didn't want to go. Then I just said, okay, let's go. And when I landed in Bhutan, I was quite surprised to see that he had tied up with a foreign brand. And that brand was Lucid D2. So the next day, like, I want to see some touristy thing, and the next day I was supposed to go to the Tiger's Nest. And it started snowing the next day, so I couldn't go for the tourist place. Then my friend says, why don't you join me? I'm doing some learning and development program with the brand. If you want to join, just come and see how it works out. So I said, okay, let's go. And then, and I was listening to this, what I noticed was during the learning and development thing, this particular young lady, she was very shy and timid, you know, she was sitting way at the back. And then by the end of the program, like after 3-4 hours, she was staying right in the front shouting, "Yeah, Doset, yeah, Doset." Then I was like saying, okay, like, you know, a brand can really take out like your self-confidence. And from a very shy, timid girl to a very like confident girl, I was really impressed, you know. So I came back to Kathmandu, I met my dad, I told him like what I've seen, observed, learnt. And the first thing I told my dad was, do you want one hotel or do you want 10 hotels? So my dad says, after all, my dad being my dad, he said, why 10? I want 20 hotels. So I said, okay, you want 10 or 20 hotels? We as owners should make the hotels and let the professional, the brands run it for you. That's the model we should follow. And the owner and the brand work hand in hand as a team and move forward. That's what I feel.
Excellent. Arunji, I would like to ask you that question with a little bit of a twist. You invested into hotels, you said you do a lot of work in real estate, you have so many projects into so many other businesses. So you did start, of course, the first property which you bought in Chitwan was a running property. It ran, it still doesn't have a brand. Then the other two you're developing is an Indian brand, and the third property you're developing is with a multinational global brand. So what made you go ahead to go for international branded hotel?
We are talking about international brand per se.
Yes, or even Indian brands. For us, they're both international in Nepal.
Yeah, like my friend Mr. Dorji mentioned, building a hotel is building a hotel. You know, it's a different skill set that is required. Running a hotel is running a hotel. I completely agree with him by saying that you need to give right person, right job, you know. Because we are into multifaceted business, our core strength is not running a hotel. So that's the reason why we give it to international brand. Now the question may come, international brand, why a specific brand? You know, then we deploy consultants. We do deploy consultants. At this point of time, I would like to remember my late friend Homi Aibara, who was the person behind taking through this journey. Then he passed away, and I can't forget my friend Ramesh Kaul as well, who was, because Homi left us in between. And that time, Ramesh told me that if it is Homi, I take the baton and I now run. Thank you, first of all, Ramesh. Now, we choose brand according to the property. This is heart of the city in Patan, 182 key and banquet facility, and we had very, very clear-cut goal as to who are our clientele and who could be the best name for us, and we went for Crown Plaza. Now, another hotel is down in Teku Road, which is a business place. We thought that Lemon Tree would be a good name, and we went through. So, simple cookie answer would be, I believe in giving right brand, right job. I concentrate into building a hotel with the help of best of the talents that's available here. And running a hotel, they got to do it. Then, obviously, at owner's rep, our job kicks in, to make sure that they do their job properly. Because for them, it's one of the hotel. For us, it's the only hotel. Does that answer your question, Upal?
Yes, it does. Thank you. So we are a little tight on time. So let me ask Akshay a different question. So your hotels, you saw the finishing of the hotel when you came into Nepal, and then you opened the hotel, and it's running pretty successfully from what I understand. So what do you think are challenges which you face as an owner when you have a brand? When you sign on a brand, the brand gives their directions in terms of how you should construct it, and then later when you run it. What are the challenges you feel? Of course, we see a lot of good sides, but what are some challenges, which you feel you faced during the construction, design, development, and now when it's running?
So, just to get straight to the point, the main challenge is the relation between the owning company or the owners and the brand. So if you have a good relation with the management on site and the business team, wherever they are located, you usually come to an agreement that's viable for both sides. As owners, we always want better business, bigger business, more revenues, more profit, etc., etc. As a brand, they want to, not overcommit, not, go gung-ho on the numbers. So that is one challenge. Another thing is capex requirements. So most brands, at least I can speak for Hyatt, has a particular budget that they need per year for capex. Which is good. So, I was writing some notes for your previous question, and I just want to add to that. Why we go with international brands is because who are our clientele? Nepal is a tourist-based country, right? We don't have a lot of local tourists coming in and staying overnight in our hotels. So if we have to market our own brand abroad, it's going to cost a lot of money. So we get international brands on board who have built their brands over decades and maybe centuries. So it is much easier for us to grab the customer who is coming into Nepal, who knows a Hyatt or a Marriott or a Dusit or a Crown Plaza or a Hilton or Lords. So they know the kind of services that are going on, and it's a familiar sort of experience. So that's very important. To come back to your question about challenges, I think all businesses have challenges, but in the hotel industry, between the brand and the owner side, the main challenge is just arriving at a decision that is viable for both parties. And I think with a little bit of teamwork, that can be done as well.
Thank you. Sahil, what would you say to that? What are the challenges of dealing with the brand? I'm sure you face that probably every day.
Upal, very frankly, I did not face too many challenges as such. But the thing was that there was a lot of learning, because it was the first hotel project that I was doing. And, initially there was a lot of discussions on brand standards, on the sizes of the rooms, sizes of the facilities. So, there was a lot of learning, what is required. And obviously, you as a businessman feel that, something is right or something can be done in a different way. But then at the end of the day, you have to understand their experience, the knowledge they carry over so many years. So you cannot really challenge those. Obviously, there is a part where when the cost comes, it's expensive to build a hotel with a brand because you follow a certain standard. If you're not having a brand, you can cut corners, you can do it in a much cheaper way. But then, that's the part of having a good brand. And obviously there is a lot of opportunity when you have a good brand. So that's what I feel. Yeah.
Thank you. So that's quite a vindication that you should have a brand. Yes, it will cost you a little more, but it makes a lot of sense. And you've heard some owners speak there. So Pushpendraji, I'd like to ask you a question. You run a very successful brand across India. You have some properties in Nepal too. So how do you think from a owner-operator perspective, what we'd like to say, is it more, do you cost more to run your hotel if the owner were to run it himself than when you are running it?
I am not an owner in Nepal. I am owner of 7 hotels in India. Right. In Nepal, owner has a different prospect. He thinks that operator should come with a magic band, a magic stick, and do miracles. But he doesn't want to, I am not telling of my fellow sitting.
You can be brutally honest, that's fine.
I'm just being honest. And there is a lot of red tapeism in government. So the government policies need to be relaxed or easy. Like we cannot repatriate, we cannot take money every month, or we have to take a permission. So those difficulties are there. Though Nepal is a very good country, we had a morning mountain flight, we saw Himalayas. There is religious, like Sita birth was here, Bodha, another religious place, leisure is there. Then your gaming is there, casinos are very much, my Birganj property runs only because of casino, Nepalganj runs only because of casino. Adventure is there, a lot of adventure is there. And now, even at the border, they have started MICE and weddings. So
yes, that's true.
That is also a plus point as a owner, if I want to say to the owner of Nepal. And if someone through this forum I can tell who can talk to the government to create an infrastructure, roads, like they should create a corridor among near place where there should be 4-lane roads and all. So that will create a lot of tourism.
Okay. Great, thank you so much. So, so my last question, and this will go to each one of the panelists, is what do you see as the future trend of hospitality in Nepal? All of you have been living here for a fairly long period of time, and you've seen how this industry changed, evolved, how you yourself have changed, evolved. Because till a very long period of time, there was only the Solti Crown Plaza, which I used to head for more than 5 years in my life, but it was a 54-year-old hotel. And then the Hyatt Regency, which is I think about more than 25, 30 years. And then there was this big gap, and then Radisson came in, which is also about 20 years. And then there was nothing happening. And suddenly there's this flurry of brand standard, branded properties coming in. So that's one of the trends we see. What are some other trends which you foresee for the tourism and hospitality industry in Nepal? Start with Sahil.
So, one thing what I have noticed is, earlier the hotel business or hospitality business was focused on certain areas like Kathmandu or Pokhara, or, even little bit in Chitwan area. But now I see that, there are hotels mushrooming throughout the Tarai region of Nepal. Whether you look at the Mechi Crown area, that Betamor area, or you look at Nepalganj. So what I feel is there is a huge potential of growth on hospitality on the Tarai area of Nepal, because it's bordering to India, and as Sir was saying, the MICE tourism, the casino tourism, even the religious tourism. I think there is a huge potential there. At the same time, there is a huge potential of, high-end resorts on the mountains. I have a few friends who are building like small properties, maybe 6 rooms, 15 rooms, but very high-end on a very, very, very exotic locations around the Himalayan range of Nepal. So I see that is a huge potential business which is completely untapped, and I think it can change the whole hospitality scenario in Nepal. Also, something I see is the technology part, the technology part and the brand part. I see that now, earlier, I think, each hotel used to hire, number of people was very high. But with the technology coming in, I see that, the hotels can be more efficient, and technology can play a big role in the hospitality business. And at the same time, I feel a lot of new brands, regional, international brands, will be available in Nepal, and they will help grow the hospitality business in Nepal. Thank you.
That's great. Pushpendra, something from you?
As mentioned by my fellow speaker, he's very true. The growth looks very fabulous, I would say. Not only that. And yes, we can have 15 rooms hotel just like other brands which are doing good in India. It has to be a boutique or experiential hotels where the ARR will be more, occupancy will be less, or that thing. But tremendous growth I can see in the Nepal.
Thank you. Dorje?
Future trends from an architectural point of view, I would say since all our 3 properties are very traditional, cultural, a building both inside and outside the building, a building which we've made with so much, which tells a story. So in future, definitely I would make a building which is more simple, straight cut, because it's less maintenance, because the traditional design which we've done is expensive and very high on maintenance, so that's the architectural point of view. But from an operation point of view, what I see is, especially after COVID, so much focus is on health and hygiene. So everything is becoming like touchless technology, like check-in is touchless, your payments also touchless. So everything is going more towards that. And as you all must have heard about ChatGPT, now the future, now I can see more into AI technology. Maybe it'll take time to come to Nepal, but I've already read in the papers, Alibaba Hotel in China, where the robots are serving food in the room. But at the end of the day, nothing can beat, I feel, human technology. The empathy is there, the compassion, the energy, that you cannot take away. I think that will be there forever. Yeah.
Thank you. Interestingly, there is a restaurant where robos serve you in Nepal. It's in Kathmandu and Darbar Marg. It's called the Naulo restaurant, where actually a robo comes and serves you. Right? Yes, yes. Arunji, what would you say are some future trends that you foresee for hospitality industry in Nepal?
It may be relevant to realize that at the moment in Nepal approximately 1 million tourists come in. Okay, I was just going through some Google figures, and per tourist per night expenditure is approximately hovering around $40. So you can well imagine, Nepal per se has so much to offer. I don't have to sit and list it out. So there is no need to sit and argue that whether there is a potential or not. There is a potential. It's just that, as my friend mentioned, yes, we are lacking on the infrastructure. As soon as the infrastructure is good, that $40 will jump. And you can ask yourself, is 1 million tourists for Nepal a fair number? I would say no. So, in other words, tourism has no two-way. only the way up. You can't expect tourism to go down below 1 million. Let's talk about Thailand, 36 million. Let's talk about Malaysia, 26 million. You know, so much to offer. Nepal has so much to offer. So something is not right. And that so many hotels are coming. I'm sure all the hoteliers will join hand and put things into right perspective. So I think the future is great.
Thank you so much. Akshay?
Yeah, I tend to agree on a couple of things my colleagues have already mentioned. One is, all of us or our friends outside of this room, we can build beautiful hotels, we can do ecotourism in Nepal, agrotourism, religious tourism, luxury tourism. We can do all kinds of things, in the mountains, in the farms, everywhere, but the policies and the infrastructure to bring in tourists need to be looked at. And, as he correctly stated, that all of us must get together and, bring it to the forefront that whatever is missing needs to not be missing. So I think there's a great opportunity in Nepal as a whole. Tourism industry as a whole has fantastic potential. We have China and Nepal bordering, two big populations. Certain things that India doesn't allow, for example, gambling, which is allowed in Nepal, draws a lot of people. A lot of the border states between India and Nepal are dry states, so they don't offer alcohol, which Nepal can and does do, obviously. So a lot of things, a lot of opportunities, future is bright if we get together and, correct the things that are not correct, then, there's opportunities as high as Mount Everest.
Thank you. So that brings us to an end to this panel's discussion. And as you rightly heard, there are fantastic opportunities in Nepal. And now we have all industry leaders for whom this is really not their prime business, but the fact they're getting into it. So all those issues about infrastructure, red tapeism, bureaucracy and policies, I'm sure those are going to get resolved because all of them are captains in their own industry and they have resolved all these issues, which probably they faced at a certain point of time in their life. And one of the good things about AiM, and I'm very thankful to Anil and to Romesh, that they create these platforms where we get all these people together, and from here you take it to Nepal, to the country, and then to the world. And I think it's a fantastic platform. Thank you so much, panelists. You've been an excellent panelist, and I'm sure you enlightened everyone in the room. I'm sure you'll have some questions, so we go right ahead. So Rakesh, Mathur, can somebody get a mic here, please?
Mr. Chaudhary, please forgive me. I'm going to directly quote you. But in that particular statement you made, therein lies the basic conflict between ownership and brand. Your statement was that we are builders and owners. We don't know how to operate and run hotels. So we give hotels to professionals to run. And then we make sure that they do their jobs properly. Did you get what I'm trying to get at? My question is, how do you make sure that they do their jobs properly when you are not operators? And number two, what criteria do you apply to that particular function? Because this is, and how do you make sure that there is no conflict in their operating the property and you making sure that they operate properly?
Okay, thank you very much. I think it's a very, very simple. There are many people who are available who know how the hotels should run. So I would hire them as my owner's rep, and I will put them on the board so they will make sure that owner deliver what they promise. Because it's a service industry, It's a service industry and you can get away with anything, blaming something or the other. But when you are paying for something, you better give it, you know.
So I'm not going to respond to this, but I would like a brand to respond to this, because that is, it is basically their concern.
Yeah, I think Anil wants to say something. Yeah.
Again, my question is also to Mr. Arun Chaudhary. So you said you like to create. We as architects, I think a lot of architects are here, they also think that they've been trained and they are the bigger creators, I mean, for the product, for a hotel or whatever. So in your case, when you are creating and the architect is also creating the same thing at the same time, I mean, if there were two gods creating one human being, wouldn't there be a conflict? So is there a conflict sometime, or is there a problem with your architect? How's your relationship with your architect?
No. You are completely mistaken. The job is not to sit and fight. Okay? I believe in a collaborative approach. Because the architect got to be clear what my aspirations are. What do I want? You know, my friend Kozima is just sitting next to you. He is my interior designer. So, we have discussion. We have disagreement. We have agreement. But we come to a conclusion. He brings in his experience. I put in my aspiration. And this aspiration of the owner is predominantly in look and feel of the hotel. We are not talking about the basic functionary, machinery, the thing which is used 1,000 times a day. No. So I don't see any reason where there has to be a conflict. It is a collaborative approach. They are doing the job with best of their intention. We are also putting in our aspiration and what do we want, because we also know, we since traveled fairly well, we know what is good, what is not so good, what would be different. Because I can talk for myself, I just don't want a hotel, but I want a hotel with the difference. We are bringing in hotel which is Gen Z is going to use. So the thinking has to be of Gen Z, not historical thinking.
Actually, Mr. Chaudhary, I'm not, now this is not directed at you, but I've been on both sides of the coin. I worked for the IHG group at one stage of my career. I've also had occasion to help and guide the CG group at one point in time. But I may make a statement that the basic conflict arises when the so-called owner's representative is appointed to keep an eye on the operator. Now, somebody made a statement in the earlier, in deliberations, that there has to be a total mutual trust between the owner and the operator. In my experience, in 90% of the cases, the so-called owner's representative, who could have been an operating person at some point in time, has been found to create more disturbance in the relationship than to seal the relationship between the operating company and the owning company. So I would strongly advise, and I'm surprised that no brand stood up to talk about the issue that I raised, conflict arising out of this. But so I had better say what I wanted to say, that I would rather not have an owner of rep keeping an eye on me. I would rather have the owner sitting with me and chatting with me, at the end of the week about the figures, the performance. And it is our job to educate the owners and to make them into hoteliers also. And that is a better relationship than, putting a representative there who in 70% of the cases is keen on safeguarding his or her assignment. Mr. Bansal wants to say something, and I think as a management company...
Yeah, I think so.
just one sentence I want to say, then allow me. It's maybe
All right,
you don't
please.
like it, but
Certainly.
it's like selecting a doctor to operate and making other doctor to supervise, which can be done.
Okay, so I think we've touched a little bit of a raw nerve here, but for all the brands, owners are very clear, they want their bang for the bucks. Yes, sir.
You know, I completely agree with you because end of the day, like I said, right person, right job. We can't generalize. We can't generalize anything. Neither we can generalize
We'll go
chain, nor we can generalize architect, interior, or whatever, or for that matter, even the owner's rep. You know, owners are there to make sure that the owner's rep is there to contribute rather than to create mess so that the working relation itself is gone, you know. So I really appreciate your insight and you know, something I learned. I would be very, very mindful of selecting owner's rep so that we don't create circus there, but we put brand on their toes. That's for sure.
Excellent. Akshay, you want to just say?
Yeah, so I had mentioned earlier that there should be trust between the brands and the owners, right? So right now, for example, we have one single hotel, so I am the owner's rep from my family side. So I talk to my management, I talk to Hyatt, which is fine. But when you're scaling any business, when you're doing 5, 10, 15, 20 hotels, it becomes very difficult for you to talk directly with each management. So that is why, as Mr. Chaudhary said, the owner's representative is a reflection of the owner's thought process. It cannot be that, you know, just because there is someone in the middle, things have to go haywire. That depends on the management and the owning company and the owners himself, what he wants to put forth between the brand himself and the representative. So it's not really a challenge that way, but thank you.
All right, there's one question, last one, we'll take that because I see Sadiksha is already on the stage.
Well, I'd like to bring back the perspective on growing hospitality industry in Nepal, which was the discussion. And I'm so happy to see, you know, at least 3 of my hotel owners here, which are very, very passionate. In fact, Sahilji, Mr. Dorji and Akshay, we work together. And it has been 6 years that, you know, we've been working in Kathmandu, and I've seen how the hospitality space has grown. And we work specifically in hospitality in India also. Since, you know, now after this corona thing has happened, and I've seen the last topic also on emerging, of how the trends are emerging and what we need to do. Since this thing, you know, all the companies have started, you know, bringing back the travel, and we've been asked to attend different events and conventions in different parts of the world. In the last 1 month, you know, I've actually traveled to Dubai, just came back from Vietnam and Phuket. And I wonder, you know, these are very small countries, you know, and they've taken hospitality very seriously. Now, when I look at, you know, even India, I come from the Northeast, you know, I'm born and brought up in Shillong, a very small part.
So what's your question?
My question is that, you know, as, you know, all of you are here, why don't we look at something, you know, as a large convention center or a hospitality district? You know, as Mr. Sahil mentioned, you know, you have like the Tarai area, which is like still untouched, and you have large spaces of land. Why don't you collaborate and make a large convention space, you know, so that even people can come up, like, you know, you can have a sort of a Kathmandu Expo, like what you happened in Dubai Expo or Phuket Expo or something like that. You know, there are no convention event spaces in Nepal. So, you know,
so you'll be surprised that actually a very large convention center can seat 3,500 people. It's right on the outskirts of Kathmandu. So things are happening. The last question, Sunil.
Yeah. So I'm going to go away from what has been discussed. You know, as a collection of leaders here, we appreciate that you have identified a lot of gaps in infrastructure. A lot you expect the government has to do, and you know, you will probably be catalysts in getting those done. But there is one that I ask, as leaders of the industry in Nepal, with so much growth taking place, what is your input in creating skill, which is going to be a key factor over the next few years? There's going to be less of a rate war, it's going to be more of a skill war. So I hope you're, as leaders, addressing this.
Excellent question. Anyone wants to take it from my panel. What are we doing to address what he calls the skill war, which is definitely going to happen?
So I think all our brands have in-house training that they do on the job for everyone that comes in, and Nepal as a whole now is developing its hospitality and service training and skill set. If that's your question, more so when you talk about competition, I think in the service industry you have a particular product. There's only so much you can do with whatever you have designed, the room size, the facilities, restaurants. So the challenge will come in service, right? So how your management or the hotel management greets your potential customer. So what I speak with my general manager about is, look, whatever we have given to you, you have to work with that. But every customer who walks into the hotel should have an experience that they can smile about when they're, thinking of it the next day or sharing a story. So that is my, bottom line, top line, all of these things will manage themselves eventually.
Mr. Golia, I appreciate what you're doing. I'll leave you with a thought to all the leaders here to invest in skill creation. It's got to be institutionalized. It can't be done at unit levels. It's just a thought for you. Thank you.
Yes, Sahil.
It's a great idea, but I just wanted to mention something which I had, while traveling around the world, I've seen. We have a lot of Nepalese, especially, in Middle East and Malaysia, Korea, who are working on the hospitality industry. And if you go to Dubai today, there is like a humongous amount of manpower that is involved in the hospitality industry. So there is a lot of skill available there that can be, they can come back to the country and work. So I just wanted, I understand what you're saying, but just wanted to add that point.
So I go back to the Master of Ceremonies.
My answer to your question.
I completely agree with Mr. Sunil's question. That is going to be a problem, because of which there would be a lot of, pinching, and because of that, the cost of HR is going to go up. So some kind of training center, combinedly operated, or is surely desirable. I really appreciate your concern. Yeah.
I'm sure there are a lot of questions. I see a lot of hands, but I'm afraid the MC is giving me dirty glares. So we need to close this session here. But all these leaders are available over tea, which I think is after this, and you can personally engage with all of them. Thank you very much, panelists.
Thank you very much to our moderator and our fabulous panelists for bringing out some of their personal experiences, the learnings as well when it comes to what they think the future of hospitality in Nepal would be like. And to present them with the token of appreciation, may I please invite Mr. Anil Sharma on stage. And we'd like to thank all our moderator, all our panelists as well for bringing in this insightful discussion to all of us here at the AiM Conference and Exposition 2023. This session really shed some light on what are the leaders' perspective when it comes to the hospitality industry in Nepal. And we'd like to now present the token of appreciation. So we'd like to thank our moderator for doing a fabulous job. Thank you to Mr. Upal Majumdar. Thank you very much for moderating this session fabulously. We'd also like to thank Mr. Akshay Golyan. Thank you very much for bringing out the brand's perspective, a leader's perspective in this discussion. We'd like to thank Mr. Arun Chaudhary, Mr. Dorji Lama, Mr. Pushpendra Bansal, and Mr. Shahil Agrawal as well for all of their individual outputs as to what they see the future of Nepali hospitality industry and Nepali hospitality market to be like. Ladies and gentlemen, can we please put our hands together for our moderator and our panelists for this third session of the day. A group photo, and we would like to end this session. These beautiful Thanka paintings to them. And before our moderator and our panelists leave, I'd like to request them to pick out 2 questions that are getting the voucher from the casino.
Which was the best question? Which was the funny question? Any 2 questions? Yeah, sure. Sorry, in fact, actually, I was just telling Anil, sorry, I think the best answer was given by Mr. Gulyan,
for the response on the asset management companies, whereby he mentioned that, obviously when you go for multiple hotels, then you'll certainly need somebody to advise you. I certainly recommend, though I'm not on the panel, that he should get the prize for that.
You won't have a use for this prize.
So the best question.
So, and then one from the audience.
The best question to the gentleman?
Yes, Rakesh Mathur.
Mr. Mathur.
Mr. Mathur would like to.
Yes.
Not advocating of having owner's rep?
Owner's rep, that's Mr. Rakesh Mathur. Mr. Rakesh Mathur.
And one more.
I hope you agree.
One more. And the second question.
To Mr. Anil Sharma.
So this is courier service.
We have a very nice courier home delivery service for the voucher that we are utilizing. Oh no, oh no. Will that voucher be delivered? Is what we're going to see. And Mr. Anil as well, congratulations. I hope this is another round of encouragement for all the people to please participate in the questionnaire post the session as well. Thank you to our moderator. Thank you to all our fabulous panelists. Thank you very much.